Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, for giving me the floor. I would like to thank IPGAD for inviting me in this session. And I would also like to thank the Minister and as well as Ambassador Humayun Kabir for being here and for being so gracious, particularly Dr. Humayun Kabir, in setting the tone of this session. In fact, most of the points are covered by Dr. Ali Ashraf. Now, when we talk about a comprehensive foreign policy of Bangladesh, it becomes extremely difficult on my part to say something since I don't come from the foreign ministerial background. But being a man from the Air Force, I can just highlight one or two points which are related to the elements of power. When we talk about power, we take, in fact, the acronym DIME. D for diplomacy, I for information, E for economic, and M for military. Now, diplomacy comes first, and then comes informational power. Now, whenever we talk about diplomacy, it means that the countries we have diplomatic relations, they are important for us. When we talk about informational power, it means that what kind of textual context is prepared by the other countries about us. Third one is the economic power. It is related to trade relations with the other countries. And finally, the military power, which talks about the military alliances or pacts with other countries. Now, from comprehensive foreign policy of Bangladesh point of view, it is extremely difficult at this stage what kind of foreign policies we should have in the coming days, because that will exactly depend upon the kind of specialization and experts that we'll have in the foreign service. Now, there is a book written by Dr. Henry Kissinger titled Diplomacy. It is almost about 1,200 page page tome. And in that particular book, what he talks about diplomacy is largely related to the histories of the great powers and how they changed about the world order. But the most important thing about that book is it is dedicated to the members of Foreign Service, which means that the members of the Foreign Service, they have to be brilliant to that extent in order to understand the foreign policy perspectives and strategies. The most important thing about us in Bangladesh that the foreign policy specialization, in fact, training and skill development is still not very much mature. And I personally think that in the Foreign Office, the kind of people that we recruit, they must be brilliant enough in order to understand the comprehensiveness of the parameters they need to include into their foreign policy dicta. This is first point that we should be looking for into the future. But I can also cite an example of United States Air Force. We all know about RAND Corporation. RAND Corporation is one of the finest institutes in the world. But we do not know RAND Corporation was founded by United States Air Force. And RAND Corporation today is a non-governmental institution, but nobody knew that RAND Corporation at one point of time, when their chief of air staff, Henry Arnold, wanted to develop it, he wanted to develop it in the sense of building strategic ideas in collaboration with academia and the United States Air Force journals. We always say that you will have a very brilliant military provided you have got good generals, good air marshals, and good admirals. And I always say that you'll have a very brilliant foreign policy institution provided you have very brilliant diplomats. But that is where we have to give our attention to in future. Without having brilliant diplomats, we can never think of having a very comprehensive foreign policy for Bangladesh, because they are the ones who will bring in the specialized knowledge to the table of the political masters. It is not merely the task of the political masters to determine, decide on what kind of foreign policy we should have or we will be having. It is the specialized people. We can take the examples from Indian foreign policy, foreign service, experts, and we can also see that the experts we have, Singapore foreign service has, and it's all those experts in Singapore foreign service, they have turned out to be the international figure in diplomacy. But in our case, it has not happened so. That means either the political masters have intentionally not allowed this. This is my personal opinion. The way our political masters have not allowed brilliant journals to thrive in our institutions. So this is basically the task of the political masters, that whether they want the institutions to grow or not. If they want the institutions to grow, then naturally they will look into these institutions with greater care and attention. The other thing is that, which I personally feel, I've seen in the institutions, I've rarely seen any diplomat or any ambassador having completed his tenure to go to the military institutions and give a lecture or presentation. I've seen this in the United States of America. Any ambassador having completed his tenure, he goes to the institutions like National Defense University or National Defense College, or say I've seen also in Yale University, where I had my master's degree, that coming and giving a talk. As a result, what happens, the imperative of defense policy being embedded into foreign policy is materialized, can be translated with due care. Since it is not done, we cannot, in the context of Bangladesh, we keep on telling so many things, but all these things are in fact nebulous, both in form and also in concrete terms. Just take a case of deterrence. We understand that in order to have a very good military, you should have a minimum credible deterrence. But how many times have we really talked about what deterrence is, what kind of equipment we should have? In order to have a minimum credible deterrence, the book says, the textbook says that you must have a very powerful Air Force, and we have never given any attention to this. As a result, what happened during the Myanmar crisis, Myanmar violated our airspace close to about 21 to 22 times. And every time those aircraft were detected, but you could not retaliate because you did not have a very powerful Air Force by which you could give them a very good response that next time they should not be doing so. You have violated my airspace up to this time, this much and no more. The way Pakistan has responded to the Indian aggression into their airspace. These are some of the things which diplomats need to know. And the most important thing, a diplomat cannot simply work in isolation with regard to his knowledge without having any idea about what defense is. My most favorite diplomat is Henry Kissinger. Just see the amount of knowledge he had about strategic things, nuclear, policies are related. But they are the ones, in fact, who guided their, not political masters, but their defense planners in order to what kind of, in fact, military policies they should have with regard to their nuclear policies. And finally, I would like to add one more thing, and which has already been highlighted by Dr. Ali Ashraf. Henry Kissinger has also written a book in the age of AI. In the age of AI, our foreign policy will have to be naturally different from the kind of foreign policy we in fact enjoyed in the previous decades. And the other thing is that, the last one I should say, that both foreign policy and the defense policy experts are supposed to be men not merely of intelligence, but also men of wisdom, which is based on the kind of knowledge they inherit by way of their institutional training and education. And for military officers, extremely important is that their scientific knowledge should be updated. It is on the basis of scientific knowledge that in future, they should be able to fight wars or defend their country. And that is why I say that the intermingling of the diplomats and the military officers in and around their own institutions should be a regular practice. We have a place for the diplomat at embassy, but I have not seen any diplomat or foreign office, in fact, member, ever been posted there. These are some of the things which have put into our, policies, but we have not implemented them. This is the, in fact, tragic part of it. And the other thing is that who should, in fact, forcibly make things do as we want our foreign policy to be in future. it is not merely the political masters. It is basically the diplomats, and also to support them are the military officers. When we talk about strategic issues cannot be in fact thought about independently of the elements who constitute the strategic affairs, and they are the Foreign Office members and the military service members. Thank you very much.